Tableau is one of the most incredible data visualization tools. And one of the reasons why is because you can create so many different kinds of charts and graphs. And I would venture to say that there are very few data visualization software tools that can compete with Tableau. But with all of the things that you can do in Tableau, it becomes confusing when you're trying to tell a story because you'll have a data analyst or somebody on the data side who is developing reports, but then on the other side, you have somebody who's making decisions. And so if you show something super fancy to somebody who is very old school, then they're going to say, this chart is worthless to me. But the data scientist will say, well, it's worth something. I spent all this time on it. And there's this disconnect between the two. That is why the most important thing to know in creating data visualizations is knowing your audience. I know that everybody tells you that, especially when it comes to design, storytelling, etc. But analytics is no different. If you know your audience, you know exactly who you're talking to and how to lay out data visualizations in a way that tell a compelling story. So I'm going to show you how we used about 4 different pages to tell a compelling story when it comes to healthcare data. Okay, so what we're talking about in this specific dashboard is qualified health plans by state, by region, and by individual. And so we got this data from healthcare.gov, publicly available data. And what we're showing is we're showing the average premiums by state. If you recall, this is our first page of the dashboard. What this means is that the very first thing that somebody sees is this page. And the reason why is because this is the most important metric of the entire dashboard. What we're trying to show is the most general perspective we can. So it shows the average premium by state, and then it shows a bar graph comparing it by state so that you can know that New Hampshire has the lowest premium on average and West Virginia has the highest. So after you look at it by specific state, then you can look at it at a deeper level and you can look at it by county. And you can say, well, realistically, I am looking at, let's say we're looking at Missouri and Kansas. So we can drill down and we can say we're looking at Missouri here and we're looking at Kansas. If I can find it here. Here we go. Okay. So now we're looking at that, but we're wanting to know specific counties within these specific states. And so the beauty of Tableau is that we can start to identify only the counties that we want. So if I'm only looking at Kansas City, I may want to just highlight these counties, select keep only, and then it will isolate everything else. And it's quite incredible because you can see that even with these selected counties here, there's a difference between the specific counties you're looking at. So for example, these counties here will have, or these county codes will have a higher rate than what's on the Kansas side. So off the bat, you can know, okay, Missouri has a higher premium than Kansas, and you can start to ask why. Okay, so we started general and we went specific. Now we're going to take a different perspective and we're going to look at the individual and look at the individual of how much they're paying for a premium if they're age 21 to age 60. And we're looking at the maximum deductible versus the out of pocket, or the average deductible versus the max out of pocket. What this does is it allows you to see this data from a different perspective. So if you didn't like the previous perspective of by state, you can look at it by an individual perspective. And we also built in so that we could see it by family. So we could say, okay, if you have an average couple who has 1 child, this is what their premiums will be by age. If you have 2 children, this is what it will be by age, and 3 children. So within 5 seconds, you can take a look at this one chart on this one page and say, hey, I think I know what's going on here, and I can start to see a trend. The last thing I'm going to show you is that you can start to look at the data at the very most granular level you want to see it. So you can start to look at it by the specific case you're looking at. So if you want to look at, for example, a couple who is age 40 with one child, this is what it's going to be. And you can start to look at it and you can start to say, okay, if there's a couple with one child, this is what their premiums will be over time as they get older, etc. All this to say is that when you're looking at data and building out data visualizations, it's important to have in your mind what kind of stories you're going to tell and what perspectives the user wants to see. From there, then you can start to build out the pages that tell the story that you want to tell. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was at least helpful in giving you some ideas about how you can lay out data visualizations in a way that makes logical sense. Because if it doesn't make logical sense, then somebody's going to look at it and look at the first page and say, I don't like this, this is garbage, or they will say, this doesn't really resonate with me, and then throw the whole thing out while there is really valuable data here. So if you start to show it from the beginning with the most important pieces of information, then it can allow the users to ask questions that ask more detail about the specific trends or metrics that they want to see. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Arcosanalytics. You can follow me on Twitter and or LinkedIn, and you can also find us on LinkedIn. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.